Africa, beloved Africa. Your beauty is rivaled only by your destitution. Your richness of natural resource, comparable in measure only to the suffering of your people. Continent of bounty, how the water glistens on your pristine coastlines and the dry heat simmers on your flowing plains. The wind rustles through your deep, cool forests. Glorious are your picturesque valleys and breathtaking are your craggy peaks. Almost year-round, the sun bathes your arable soils in its life-giving light. Ample rain quenches the thirst of your vegetation and washes into your powerful rivers and trickling streams. And below the soil lies rich deposits of fossil fuels, precious and non-precious metals. The land is your bounty, and for each there is plenty. Each inhabitant of your sparsely populated expanse a lord or lady in the feudal sense, rich in history's most treasured commodity. And yet, poverty persists. 60% of your 700 million inhabitants suffer from undernourishment, entrapped in bitter, inescapable poverty. Most, up to 80%, are farmers, small scale, trying to carve an existence out of your soil and ever less able to do so. Unable to make use of the wealth of natural resource that surrounds them, they live and they die, buried in their riches, becoming part of the soil meant to sustain them. Successive generation after successive generation, failing to adhere to even the most basic of agricultural principles, trapped in the fatalism of the animist worldview, and as such, unable to produce enough to feed their families. Many turn to migrant labor or seek out a life in the squalor of the city. As Alan Paton so eloquently put it, they are valleys of old men and old women, mothers and children. The men are away, the young men and women are away. The soil cannot keep them anymore. The agrarian lifestyle is in ruins, and as such, a continent remains trapped in its destitution. Africa, begging bowl of the nations, forced to rely on costly imports and shameful handouts just to feed her people. The self-perpetuating cycle of poverty entrenched in the fabric of society. It is held bound by ignorance, worldview and circumstances of apparent hopelessness.
Osieza, Osieza, sizofika webaba noma. Osieza, Osieza, siyakudla nomhlaba.
For the last 3 decades, the Farming God's Way model has been used to empower individuals across the continent to break free from the bondage of poverty. By equipping these farmers on a technological, managerial and spiritual level, it has allowed them to quickly turn farms into economically viable ventures, through which their families can be fed and profits can be made. It meets farmers where they are at, teaching them to farm in accordance with a natural model, to farm God's way, keeping the soil as undisturbed as possible, allowing crop residue to remain on the ground and practicing crop rotation. The Farming God's Way model is ideally suited to Africa. It requires little or no expenditure on inputs, is easily adaptable to a variety of crops, and is incredibly resistant to the catastrophic effects of drought and erosion. Farming God's Way is a tool of freedom being taken throughout the continent through a variety of church networks, individuals, and existing initiatives. A diverse group of people united by a deep and heartfelt compassion for the poor. This is not a quick fix, superficial solution, but a tool. A tool by which the African small-scale farmer can be empowered to break free from the shackles of degrading poverty and destitution. A tool helping farmers realize tenfold increases in yield, the move from insufficiency to abundance. A tool by which farming moves from subsistence to an economically viable endeavor, to a point of surplus and profit, financing building supplies, schooling, and medical care. A tool by which individuals become sources of hope and provision to communities ravished by AIDS and malnutrition. A powerful tool, a revolutionary tool. Individual by individual, community by community, change is coming. Africa is claiming what she is entitled to. Hope is breaking forth.